So I'm here with John Kirby, and we're very excited that we're releasing John's single Annalise. So welcome, John. Good to see you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
And we're particularly glad that John is here because he's just had a recent addition to his family, and he's. It's great that he can be here, and has apparently, as we just discussed before the interview started, has apparently slept as well, which is always good news for an interview. So, John, I got to know quite a lot of your work because I know that Annalise was a track that was intended for a complete album, and you sent us the tracks, and I have to say I was just thrilled as I moved from track to track, not only because of the incredible high quality of the recordings and the songwriting in particular, but also I think because there seemed to be this huge range of different styles, and that there was a kind of, that eclecticism, but also quite a daring stepping out of the standard pop and rock structures. So do you want to tell me something about where this unique style comes from?
Well, I think my background being a producer and producing different people's music, I wanted to show my versatility really, that I showcase when I'm in the studio. So a lot of the time I'm presented with a song, and it could be any genre, and I try to put as much influence of what I know of instruments, different genres, and put it into their music as and how they wish. So the idea of having that wide range, I think, comes from that really. And also I have a very, very large span of music I listen to. For example, Snarky Puppy, for instance, they tend to delve into different genres, but stay within that wider realm of jazz funk. Yeah. Genesis, for instance, I was the lead singer of a Genesis tribute band, and when you listen to Genesis music, there's influences from classical music. You've got your typical prog rock, but you've also got the very, very intricate detail that really grabs your attention, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to use different people as well, and different influences from to try and make it interesting for people to listen to, really. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think that kind of variety, it comes over really powerfully. But you talked about being a producer for other people. Mm-hmm. The difference is that when you're producing for someone else, you're trying to meet the needs and aspirations of a particular client. But when you're the client and you're the producer, how does that work? I mean, does that go for a really harmonious process, or does that actually cause conflict of any sort?
Yeah, I suppose it's harmonious in one sense, because recording in general is a blessing to me, because it allows me to use the different skills I have in different instruments. So it can be a blessing, it can be harmonious in that sense. But in another sense, when I'm delving into a genre that maybe I'm not overly familiar with or confident with, it's allowing the influences of other people and the collaboration with other people to influence me, so that I'm learning all the time whilst I'm producing my own music, which is a bit unusual. Again, it's just a massive learning curve, writing music, just in general, I think.
Yeah, I mean, let's just focus on the songwriting element for a bit. You're a solo songwriter in that you're writing the music, you're also writing the lyrics. So, you know, I'm not going to ask the question which comes first, the lyrics or the music, unless you want to answer that. But I guess what I'm asking is that starting inspiration for a new piece of music, for a new song, where does that come from?
For me, it's a very organic process. And I think because of the versatility I have, I can hear a piece of music. So I start with the vision. The vision is either the riff or the melody line that comes. You know, it's like that.
Yeah.
That light bulb moment there, and then it builds. It starts to build on top of that. But what I tend not to do is I don't become very precious about it. And even though in my mind the vision is one thing, I allow for the creative process to influence the song. So when you said what comes first, it might be that the riff comes first. It might be that the lyrics come first. But in doing that, I will allow the influence of being in the studio, allowing for different things to happen. A great example of this is the track that I wrote, Nothing. This track originally I sang it through, and I'd written it about my dad. And originally I just wanted my dad to sing like a small snippet. But when I asked him to come into the studio, I said, Dad, can you explain what this song means to you? So I've written the song, but can you tell me what it says to you? And on the back, I just pressed record on chance. And he began to explain what the song meant to him. And it was fantastic because all of a sudden that monologue that he came out with became the main heart of the track. And that for me was just like, wow, you know, I just wanted to really embrace that as a musical composition, but actually it was nowhere near what the song originally set out to be. Even when I listen back to, so what I tend to do is write the music and record it on my phone, just ideas. When I listen back to the first recording of that, it sounds nothing like, you know, the recording. And to some extent, Annalise was the same. When I wrote Annalise, I had in mind the vision of just acoustic, playing it on guitar, singing. And the more that I began to start producing the song, the more I could hear different elements and different musical elements. And then I started to, you know, well, where can I get a string arrangement from? Where can I get my electric piano? Because I wasn't confident playing the notes that I wanted in the to play it live. So when I played, recorded it in, it was very much MIDI sequenced. So I sent it to a pianist who then, you know, transformed it, and it was wonderful. So again, it just, you know, that process of production really is so creative that it can really change a track. Yeah.
I mean, one of the things about Annalise, it's interesting that you say it was intended originally as an acoustic guitar vocal kind of song, because it does have this incredible intimacy and immediacy to it. And part of that, I think, is to do with your vocal style on the recording. Do you say something a little bit more about the song and what?
Yeah. Well, the song Annalise, I wrote it about a girl who was that I knew that was not, well, to me, wasn't really making very good decisions, and so I wrote it from the perspective of her father. So I was the father, and I was singing to the daughter. And this idea of fatherhood, it really is evident throughout the whole album. And so the intimacy that you're explaining there is, I was feeling quite a lot of upset towards this this girl. You know, I really wanted to protect her. And interestingly, you know, I've just had a baby girl. You know, so putting myself in that position and in the mindset of what would your dads be saying to a daughter. So it is, it is very, very intimate. And it does kind of like play very close to my heart. But I wanted that to come through the music and the passion as well, because you mentioned it being emotive. There's a section in the song, you know, I said, look at what you've done, you know, and I'm kind of, well, yeah, it's just the desperate need from the father to kind of say, well, come on, you know, please. So
yeah. No, that's a really interesting insight. This theme of fatherhood or parentshood, which again, it's in Annalise and runs through the rest of the album, and presumably connects to the stage you were at in your own life of being a father, and that kind of, I suppose, although the record is, you know, all of your tracks are so varied, that thematic connection, and I would say those two elements of emotion and intimacy, I think, yeah, there seems to be a constant element in your work. Just coming back to your vocal sound again, there's you know, you mentioned that you've been kind of a Genesis tribute band lead singer, but there's something quite theatrical about the Genesis sounds. You know, there's something quite theatrical. You know, if you go back to Peter Gabriel, you know, that's totally theatrical approach. But Phil Collins's vocal, again, it's always out there. You know, there's a real kind of sense of it being performed, and there's a sense of Genesis stuff being ready for a big stage all the time. But a lot of your singing, you know, and particularly on Annalise, it feels much more like it's meant for a small room. It's meant for a small space, and it's not intended to be theatrical, but actually it's taking off the mask, the performer's mask, and letting the listener through to very much the real person singing and writing the song.
Yeah, definitely.
Does that, you feel exposed?
Yeah, that definitely relates, because I always said when I performed with Genesis, sorry, when I performed with them, I was wearing a mask throughout that whole process. And I've always found it quite difficult to write music that is very personal. And I was watching a documentary by Ry Cummings, who is the singer for Ry-X. He's now known as Ry-X. And he said that he went through quite a difficult stage where he was listening to, he was creating music based on what people wanted to hear. And he said that he found a pivotal moment where he began writing for his own means, and it was very personal. And I took that and I thought, you know, I really need to be thinking from a personal perspective, and all of this music, you know, that I'd written was all written around the time where we'd actually lost a baby and we had a miscarriage. So to some extent, there is a slight almost depressing feel to some of the music, but it's coming from also a sense of hope as well, you know, and also being grateful for what I have in terms of a father. I have a father, so I'm lucky to have that, but also I am a father, So that sense of appreciating that in amongst the loss, but that there's a lot of personal battles going on as I was writing it all, really. So I think that if I was to challenge myself moving forward now, I would probably be looking to do something a little bit more upbeat and aggressive, if you like, to kind of in contrast, again, showing versatility still, but just showing the contrast in songwriting, and and that's kind of where I'm looking at now. Where can I move forward? And I'm starting to listen to music that is of that nature. So it's
that kind of preempts my question, which was about what, where do you go next? Where does it go from here? So
I think at the moment I'm looking to write. Well, I've already started writing some music for other people, which is great. But I'm starting for myself, writing music with a little bit more cohesiveness, I think. So I want to still show the versatility, but I want to try and maybe focus a little bit more into one or two, like a fusion of genres, but that fit throughout the whole collection of music, whether that be an EP or an album. I don't know, but yeah.
So this is about, from all of those different eclectic styles of music that you've got experience of and that you've dabbled in or you've played around with, it's about taking that and forging a sort of signature John Kirby style.
Yes, yeah. I mean, a lot of the Mizuko, is the album I just brought out, is it's very much a showcase of my production abilities, songwriting abilities, and the versatility. I think at the moment I'm like my main instrument is drums and singing, so I feel like I want to focus a little bit more on some of those techniques. Like there was, evidently some drumming. What can you say? How do you call it?
The drumming was featured.
Yes, yeah, the drumming was featured, but there's a lot of what I can do that wasn't shown throughout the album, and it's the same with vocally as well. I was some of the songs I'd taken influence from people like Bon Iver and Bruce Springsteen in terms of lyrically. Those influences I still want to kind of move with me, but maybe tailor it to more of a like you said, try and make it a little bit more of a tighter John Kirby sound, I guess. Yeah, I suppose that's the kind of thing I'm looking for, to try and really kind of showcase who I am and what I write, really, I guess. Yeah.
Tell me now, have I ever lied to you? Tell me now, stranger, is it fair for you? How hard is it to deny?